guys, it's me, Halloween Dan, doing a little video today. Might not be that short because I wanted to sort of have a little random chat. We're changing subjects. We've been doing a few videos recently about Christmas, but just for a day, just for a minute, I just want to switch back to Halloween. So hang on, pause the bells, stop the bells, and you can go. And just switching back to Halloween for a minute because I really just wanted to have one of my random Halloween chats. I like to have these every now and again. It doesn't matter what time of year. I just like to sort of talk about Halloween and my love for it and all that kind of stuff. I've done a few of these videos before. Today's one sort of has a purpose in a way. It kind of relates to something I've seen, something that's happened in the past week that's kind of made me think about this and I kind of wanted to discuss it. I wanted to just have a little discussion and see what you guys think and get a bit of feedback from you guys too. So if you like this video and all the rest of it, please subscribe and like and comment and all that fun stuff. And so let's just get into this. Let's get into this Halloweeny conversation. So earlier on this week, two sorts of things have happened in conjunction which are related to each other, which made me think about what this discussion is about today. Today's discussion isn't so much about my love of Halloween, and I've done all that, and why I love Halloween and all that sort of stuff. I've spoken about that before. I love Halloween, that's probably quite obvious. What happened in the past week was, so the first thing was, Hollywood Haunter, two of my favourite haunters on YouTube, did a little video where they were talking about what got them into making haunts, what got them into doing haunts and all that kind of stuff. And it was a really interesting watch. So if you get the chance, go and watch their videos. Hollywood Haunter are excellent. Go see their videos, go see what they do, but also check out their more recent videos where they're sort of talking about a bit of background into them and who they are. Really interesting watch. But also, there was a conversation that happened on Facebook maybe a few days later on one of the many groups. I'm in so many Halloween-related Facebook groups, I don't even know which one it was in. But there was a conversation brought up where someone was just sort of asking, how did everyone get into haunts? What made you want to do haunts? It was the same sort of theme. And it was interesting. I commented, I was like, oh, well, I've only really been doing my haunt for about 5 years, and it does this, and I'll do that, and blah, blah, blah. And lots of people commented, and what was interesting, there was a couple of things that were interesting about that. The first was how differently everyone does their haunts. I kind of already knew this, it's already quite obvious, unlike Christmas, which is obviously coming up, where it doesn't matter where you go in the sort of northern hemisphere, it's kind of similar, everyone kind of does similar things. Halloween, not like that at all. And just through reading these comments, you had people who did massive scale haunts with every kind of animatronic you could think of. Then there were people who just did like the harvest theme, bit more family friendly. There were people who did clowns and carnival type theme. People who had a mismatch of all sorts of different things, a bit like me. Just every kind of haunt you can imagine people did. And on big scale, little scale, all the rest of it. But the most interesting ones, because obviously this is a Halloween page we're on, and so everyone on there loves Halloween to varying degrees, but most by quite a lot. Most of the comments that came through were like, I love Halloween, but I've never done a haunt. I've never done a display. I've never bought an animatronic. I've never put things out on my front yard or garden. I've always just kept things inside, or maybe not done anything apart from maybe carve a pumpkin. And I just found that really interesting because here I am, I definitely think of myself as a novice when it comes to the haunter community. And there are a lot of people who are far more established in what they do than I am. Yet I was reading these comments and you have people who've been celebrating Halloween for 30, 40, 50 years even, yet they don't do any decorations of any sort and don't do any sort of displays or any sort of haunt because it's just not what they're interested in. And I found that interesting. And that in turn then sort of made me sort of look at myself a little bit and wonder how it is that I got to this stage, why it is that I decided to start doing horns, because it clearly doesn't come naturally to everybody. It's not like everybody that loves Halloween does that. You know, I know that, especially living in the UK, you don't see a lot of people doing what I do for Halloween. There are more people doing it, but still not quite on my scale, which I know sounds a little bit big-headed, but I don't mean it to. I just mean that you have to go quite a way from where I live anyway before you bump into somebody who does Halloween on the scale that I do. Whereas the feeling I get in places like the US and maybe even Canada, it's not quite that rare, and you'll find in a neighbourhood there might be 2 or 3 people who do these sorts of displays. So it kind of made me look back a little bit and think, where has this kind of come from me? What kind of got me into doing horns in the first place, if it isn't that sort of obvious, natural thing to do when it comes to Halloween? So for me, for the majority of time I've been celebrating Halloween, and I've been doing stuff around Halloween probably for about 25 years now, Halloween started not as a display or anything like that, but just really as a party. And this is the weirdest, I think I have told this story once before, but it's the weirdest connection to why I started celebrating Halloween on a bigger scale that there has ever been. Back in the 90s, when I was probably about 14, there was a show on Nickelodeon in the UK called Two of a Kind. No one remembers this show. If you remember this show, comment. And it had the Olsen twins in it. And they were like 12 or something in this show. And the show was an okay show, but I wasn't really that interested in it in particular. But there was a particular episode, a Halloween episode in that show, that completely changed how I saw Halloween and how I celebrated Halloween. And this is crazy. It's crazy to say that, but it's true. In this Halloween episode, the twins want to go to a big college party, basically, and it's their babysitter, who is a college student, who's hosting this party. Their dad doesn't want them to go. They switch costumes with their friends and they go anyway. And to be honest with you, the storyline is secondary. The whole thing is secondary, because what was the big thing for me was not the story or the show itself, but it was the party these twins sneak off to. Because in the show, they sneak off to this college party, and even though I know it's just a show and it's all fake, it looked amazing. They walk into this apartment, everything is decorated to the nines. You've got coffins, you've got monsters, you've got people jump scaring, you've got hands popping up out of bowls of candy, you've got everyone wearing awesome costumes. I think they had a cinema room where they were showing scary movies, and disco lights and fake fog and all of it, the whole 9 yards. It was all there. And as a 14-year-old, I remember watching this and thinking, oh my God, this looks amazing. I would love to go to that party. No wonder these kids snuck off to this party. I would love to do a party like this. The problem was, I didn't have anybody in my life that wanted to have a party for Halloween. Except for one person, my younger sister. My sister Faye is 8 years younger than me, and she loved Halloween just as much as I did. And unlike me, who'd kind of missed my opportunity when it came to Halloween, by the time Halloween had started to become an accepted thing in the UK, I was already too old to sort of really go trick-or-treating and all that sort of stuff. She was just at the right age to sort of experience it fully. And I think it was probably the next year, so I was probably about 15. She went trick-or-treating with her friends, and I said, when you come back, I'll do a party. We'll do a little party. I'll set up some cool lights, we'll do apple bobbing and stuff like that. And that's exactly what we did. The kids came back from trick-or-treating. I had all these disco lights and lava lamps and stuff set up in my mum's kitchen. We played some spooky music, we played some fun games, I told a spooky story, they ate some candy, and that was it. And then they all went home. The following year, the kids all wanted to do it again, so I did it again, but on a slightly bigger scale. And then it just kind of snowballed. The following year, it got bigger, and the following year was probably the first year that I actually started thinking about Halloween ahead of time. So it was like the end of August, and I actually started thinking about what I was going to do for Halloween. And that was, even I, at that age, at probably about 16, was like, this is some crazy stuff now. This is pretty crazy. We did this huge epic party where it was in my mum's garden, and I bought props, and I bought spooky cobwebs, and I had a smoke machine, and I had lights and stuff, and they had to walk around my mum's garden finding things and finding sweets and all kinds of stuff. They had to do these different quests that I'd set up. It was a lot of fun, and the kids really enjoyed it. And the next year I did it again, even bigger. And I think I even set off some fireworks. Woo. And then they kind of stopped. The kids had kind of reached an age where they were getting a bit too old for it. I'd reached an age where I kind of wanted to do other things. I was, by that point, 17 or 18. So I obviously wanted to spend time with my own friends and go and do my own things at Halloween. So the party stopped, all the props got packed away, and in honesty, at that point in my life, I thought, that's probably it now. I'll probably never celebrate Halloween this way ever again. Then when I was about 21, my now wife, Katie, moved into her own house and with a roommate. And it was a house not in the village we live, it was kind of in another place. And she was the first of all of our friends to sort of have her own place. So it became like party central. As Halloween was approaching, they decided maybe we could do like a Halloween party. And my ears pricked up and I was like, yes, I've got props, I've got decorations, let's do a party. And basically, even though it wasn't my house at the time, I didn't live there, I took over. I brought all these props, we went out, we bought pumpkins, we bought all kinds of new decorations, I bought another smoke machine, I think I bought like a little cauldron, all these things for their Halloween party, and I just completely took over, and we made everyone wear costumes, and it was a really great party. And everyone was kind of blown away by it and was like, whoa, because they'd never seen anything. And the weird part is, in my head, I was still, at the age of 21, trying to recreate this weird Halloween party I'd seen on Two of a Kind when I was 14. It must have had some huge effect on me. And from that moment on, every Halloween, probably right up until I was about 30, we did the same party. It was always, we'd do slightly different themes, make people wear slightly different costumes. Some of them were really stupid, some of them were really good. I would buy more props and decorations every single year, and we always had a really good time. But the party was always inside the house, and the decorations were always just for people who were coming to the party. We never did a yard display, we never did a horn, I never did anything. I didn't own any animatronics, I didn't own any other big scale props. It was all just junk, really, decorations and stuff. Then when we had Finn and then later Ella doing a party on this sort of scale, which was really just an excuse to get drunk and wear a stupid costume, kind of hit the brakes. It was kind of hard to do. You had to get a babysitter and it was just getting a bit tiresome, and people were kind of also, our friends were moving on a little bit too and weren't as interested in coming to these sorts of parties and buying costumes and all that kind of stuff. I think the final death blow for our parties was when we moved to the house we live in now. It was not as close to a lot of our friends as our old house was, and people were just kind of a bit over it. Even I was a bit over it. So then my focus switched to parties for my kids and their little friends and all that kind of stuff, and that's where my attention was focused. And it was probably only after maybe the second Halloween of us living here that I thought to myself, you know, I've got all these decorations, I've got all these skeletons and stuff, why not put them out on our front garden? Even though the front garden we've got here is nowhere near as big as the house we used to live in, I thought, well, you know, I've got a few things, it might be interesting, I'll put them out and see what people think. And people really enjoyed it. People really liked seeing the stuff that I had. All this stuff that I'd had for years and years, and it had just grown and accumulated, and people really enjoyed seeing it. I started to wonder, why had I never really done this? I'd always enjoyed watching other people's haunts on YouTube and seeing what other people made and all that kind of stuff. I'd watched videos on YouTube of other people's haunts for years, yet I'd never felt for one moment the need to do it myself. And then with the parties that we'd always thrown sort of dying a death, and my kids getting a bit older but also getting sort of interested in Halloween, suddenly this became my new focus, that and a kids party. And by 2018, I think, that's when I properly started. I was actually, for the first time, buying props designated to go on the front garden. I'd never done that before. That was the first year that I thought, oh, he'll look good on the front garden. Oh, this thing will look really good on the front garden. I'll buy some tombstones and I'll buy this. Because I never had any of that stuff because I never needed any of it. And then by the time 2019 came along, and that was the year I bought my first proper full-scale animatronic, the animated stirring cauldron witch, or Winnie the Witch for short. She was 2019, and that was it. From that moment on, I thought of myself as a haunter. I thought, this is what I enjoy doing. I enjoy doing this so much. I can't believe I've never really done this before. I got such a buzz out of not only creating something and putting it out there and seeing it all and being as spooky and as creepy as possible, but I got a bit of a buzz off having people walk past it and enjoy it and get spooked by it, and every time something moved that they didn't expect to move, kind of be like, whoa, oh my God, what's that? I don't know why, but it really sort of was like, this is great. I can't believe I've never done this before. In short, my inspiration for my haunt and why I started it kind of came out of, I've got all this stuff, why not let other people see it? And the reason I had all that stuff was because of a weird sitcom in the 90s called Two of a Kind and a particular Halloween episode. Weird. But, I don't know, what more can I say? That's where my inspiration came from. That's why I started celebrating Halloween on a scale bigger than most other people. And that's how I've ended up at the point I've ended up at. So now it's your turn. How did you end up here? Why did you start putting on haunts? Or maybe you don't. Maybe you've always loved Halloween, but you've never bothered to do a haunt of your own. It would be interesting to me to hear your little bit of backstory. What is it that inspired you? Was it a stupid, weird show like inspired me? Or was it, someone down your neighborhood? Was it someone over on the other side of town who did an enormous haunt and you were always blown away by it and wanted to replicate it? I don't know. I'd love to hear it, so please comment. Like this video if you get the chance, because it really helps this channel to grow. Anyway guys, I've rambled on long enough. We'll just re-establish Christmas now, because I can't ignore it anymore. And let's get back into Christmas mode, I suppose. We'll have to. Anyway guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Keep it spooky. Bye.